G'day folks, welcome to the second part of the Saga of the 6th Airborne scenario from the Greatest Day, part of the Grand Tactical series. This is the final part of this scenario run through. Wrapping it up early on the 10th of June. So this scenario has gone for about 4.5, close to 5 days, but I'm at a situation now where camp group look has just deteriorated to the extent that they can't push through. Allied armour has arrived and are sitting behind the lines here in a good defensive position, which they can strengthen even further. And the 3, 4, 6, 7, 11 division way up in the northeast, despite receiving reinforcements, just cannot break through the 6th Airborne landing positions. So yes, calling it here with a quite overwhelming Allied victory. Kampf Group Look did secure a few of these towns and villages around here, but nowhere near the extent of the victory objectives they needed, which are all around here, and of course the main objectives, Pegasus and Horsa Bridges down here. It's as you may have seen from the previous videos, it became quite a grind. So I'm going to cover the end of game situation here, and then I'll zoom back and sort of play through the videos to show what happened throughout the 9th of June and a little bit earlier. So Camp Group Look did clear out Hiruvier here. They did eliminate most of the 6th Airborne AT guns around this area, which kind of stabilised their situation. They haven't been losing too many steps. There is still an AT gun out here with a range of 3. 1, 2, 3. They can reach here. You can see that's why the Germans haven't occupied these areas. But the Allies still have some artillery, some mortars in the area, and now, of course, these armours. And they have just been kind of pegging away. You can see a step loss there. There is... I think I may have lost my other Stug. Yeah, they've lost a few units. I'll show you the unit casualties in just a moment. A lot from Camp Group Look. A heck of a lot, actually, just looking over it now. Which means that they're not able to drive on Pegasus Bridge anymore. They are really just taking pot shots, fishing for zeros, as they say. They've been focusing their fire on this hex here, and they do have it reduced, I believe, with 1 cohesion hit. But then there's again more behind the line. They were hoping to kind of clear this out, and then they hoped there would be weaker defences behind, but now these armoured units have arrived and just sitting there. Mortars back here, the commando mortars throughout this area, just blind them. Kampf Group Look has been very unlucky. They have pretty much had the last or second last formation activation for several turns in a row. And that has they've been blinded under these barrage markers. They have not been able to fire. They haven't been able to do anything, pretty much. They've been afraid to get into adjacent range because, they get close to these paratroopers and they can do quite a lot of damage, even to these armoured units. These are, you've got the big Panzer IVs here, but then all the other armoured units are pretty bad. Armour ratings, +1, +1, 0, 0, 0 there. I mentioned a lot of those Stug casualties. So the story has been, and again, probably repeating myself from the first video, is that the Allied entrenchments are or entrenchments in general, are very powerful. The -2 armour rating, treating these units as armoured, the +2 troop quality, the +1 firepower rating, all these things make the units in these entrenchments very, very powerful on offense and defense. Easy to pass company bonuses, easy to hit your target, well, I don't know what the assault bonus could be used for. But yeah, being treated as armoured units means they're hard to hit. Maybe a full strength Kampf Group Look could have dealt with them more efficiently, but not this very weak remnants. Way up in the northeast, let's zoom in and I'll show you the situation. So a lot of Kampf Group Lace and Kampf Group Hartmann reinforcements have arrived, but they're still in this they haven't done anything over the past few hours. all these mortar units blasting away, just not scoring a hit. And these aren't incredibly great defensive terrain positions. It's in a village, so -1, minus a further one, -1, I believe minus a further one here as well. But they're only sort of, what, 4 strength mortar. So it's a green -2, hitting on a 0, 1 or 2, which, if they're lucky, is causing a hit on a 0. Otherwise, it's just a suppression. And there are more than enough. The Allies have been putting in this 6th Airborne landing brigade formation shit every turn. So they're rallying, recovering, pulling back from the line when the cohesion hits are building up. They've now got some commandos helping them. If they need it, they're just sitting there. Yeah, it's hard to, I guess, launch an offensive down this very narrow corridor. The Germans have lost a few units in this particular space here. They advance, it's open, clear terrain. They have 0 defense modifier, so they're kind of counterattacked by the 6th Airborne landing and very quickly wiped out. I'll collect the 346 711 Division casualties just to show you what they've lost. And it is quite a lot as I'm placing them all here now, which I'll show you in just a moment. So what's happening is the Germans are just feeling demoralised, feeling like they can't break through either here nor around Horsa and Pegasus. And that's the main reason why I'm calling it slightly earlier. The scenario could go on for a few more hours, but even then it's only a couple of turns, half a dozen more turns left until that early morning on the 11th of June turn. So yes, an overwhelming Allied victory. Let me zoom out again and I'll show you the casualties. So here are the Kampfgruppe look casualties. You can see if this was full strength, they would have had a lot of hitting power, but losing those Stugs with their 0 armor rating, despite being armored, 0 defense rating, sorry, hurts. Losing the engineers accidentally really hurt. I didn't realize they were engineers until they were pretty much dead. All these units with decent sort of offensive firepower, but 0 armor rating. Some of them treated it. Yeah, these are the infantry down here, and a few other little units around the area. That's a lot of casualties from that Kampfgruppe look. Over several days, of course. These from 346 711 compared to what the 6th Airborne landing have lost. They lost Para Company, Glider Company, sorry, and of course that armoured Recce unit. There's another engineers that was lost very early on. I believe that Recce unit was up here as well. So 3 versus 8. Primarily, of course, of that slightly advantageous defensive position, the better troop quality ratings, and what else? Being on the defensive. So every time the Germans try to move forward, there's opportunity fire. And of course, all of the 716th Infantry Division was wiped out. The commandos cleared out through here, and then were able to reinforce their victory objectives along here. So they're spent as a force. The commanders did lose a lot. All of the orange commander units were wiped out around here. A few of the red units as casualties. I won't go through all of those. I mentioned in the first video the loss of that armoured unit was quite devastating for the Allies initially, and they became a bit concerned about Horsa, but then dug in really well and were able to defend. There was another bit of a panic when they lost their last armoured unit, which happened around this area, meaning that the Germans did have a lot of free movement around this area. There was no sort of opportunity fire as they're moving left and right. And they were able to kind of get out of the barrage markers, but then still not inflicting very many hits. Their cohesion hits, which the Allies are just recovering almost faster than the Germans can apply them. What we've been blinded. So once the Germans are blinded, those Allied units are no longer in the line of fire of those Germans and can rally relatively freely. All right, with that done, I'm going to kind of rewind the clock a bit and start at the beginning of this second part and show you how things have developed. This is what's taken place thus far on the 8th of June. It is now just past the 1300 turn. So I've ran through all 4 turns in the morning, 0700, 0900, 1100, and then just now 1300. And okay, let me first say nothing much has happened way up in the top right corner, the top northeast near Coburg. It's a bit of a stalemate. All these, the infantry is just occupying these city hexes, -3 modifiers. The paras have an additional -1, so it's -4 to hit them. There's a lot of these 3, 4, 6, 7, 11 infantry coming on the board, but they just can't push the paras out. They are inflicting 1, maybe 2 losses, but it's very hard for them to push through those city hexes, and they can't move out into the open because there's a couple of armoured units there ready to pounce on them if they do move out into the open. Just up here, the commandos have reduced this to 1 step, this last Widerstand nest. It's under a barrage marker, and don't have far to go. They have lost a few of their units, but I'm hoping what's left can finish them off. But this has really been, of course, the main focus. The Germans are now just 3 kilometres away from Horsa Bridge. They've captured Escaville, I've forgotten the name of the town. Yep. And are now, the next, instead of driving through and around as they had originally planned, which is now kind of being blocked by paras, by Royal Marine Commandos, they're now hitting kind of straight towards Horsa. They've eliminated one of the big para AT guns. They have their eyes set on another one here. They are chipping away at the para companies. You can see there 2 cohesion hits and down to 1 step. And then they're kind of really getting into the weaker units. So there's a mortar unit there which kind of needs to get out of the way. They're still 2 step. But you can see all these barrage markers. This is the typical story, of course. Whoever goes first gets to place the barrage markers and blind their opposition. Unfortunately, Camp Group Look was the second last activation out, and by that stage this whole area was just flooded by these barrage markers, and they can't really see much. They are losing some steps though along the way. You can see the Stills out here down to 1 step. The Panthers here, they've moved right in close, and in doing so they've suffered 2 cohesion hits. The infantry, Camp Group Look infantry under this stack here, each of them has suffered 1 step. You might be able to just see the kind of orange markers poking out, one there and another one there. So they're kind of they're sacrificing these steps as they push forward. They're trying to be careful. Sometimes they're just holding back rather than push forward, but they do need to make progress. It is now halfway through this 8th of June turn, and they're still, I mean, it's 3 kilometres, but this is a lot to get through. So they're kind of starting to push a bit harder now that time isn't running out, but that time is ticking on, and we're halfway through the scenario. Yes, various little reinforcements arriving, some artillery from 346 and 711. We do have some more infantry from that division arriving in the night turn. But what you see is basically what's going to be fighting. You can see, again, just to point this out, the commandos occupying this kind of ridge line along here. There is a ridge kind of running through with key defensive terrain, and then the open terrain in front of them, which the engineers have pocked with minefields. Yeah, so I guess we'll see what happens. Okay, so we're just at the end of the 2100 turn on the 8th of June. I've gone through the 4 turns. I'll go through each little area one at a time, starting up in the northern end near the beaches. Okay, so the Royal Marine Commandos have finally eliminated the last of those 716 Division Widerstand nests and strong points. They did take some heavy casualties towards the end, and the rest of these guys are now slowly making their way south towards the rest of their objectives, where the 21st Panzer Division are driving, which I'll show you in a moment. Up here, both sides are putting a lot of formation activations into the cup. But neither side is really making much headway. You can see sort of a build-up of cohesion hits towards the end of this little sequence of turns. The Germans did eliminate this reconnaissance unit out here with their two-toed AT guns. But the infantry, there's just a lot of, I mean, these guys have pretty low firepower rating, and the Allies are relatively low or kind of mediocre troop quality ratings. And the airborne glider units around here of the 6th Airborne Landing Brigade are in pretty good terrain. So they're just sitting back and defending. Like I said, there have been the odd one or two company losses, but nothing substantial. And certainly this 346 711 infantry is not able to push anywhere through. They are getting some more reinforcements over the night turn, but it's more infantry, and I mean, there is a lot here. There is a lot of German infantry here. I think they do outnumber the Paras, but Paras on the average have better troop quality and a couple of armoured units and just good defensive terrain, such that the Germans haven't been able to push through here. And again, just in this area, sort of southeast of Pegasus and Horsa Bridges, this is where the bulk of the fighting is taking place. The 21st Panzer Division offensive continues. They are taking ground very, very, very slowly. So they've recently cleared out the defenders of Herouvillet. They are also causing a lot of step losses throughout this area. There's also the Allied AT guns have a step loss there. And again, there is a step loss on these AT guns here. There's more AT guns up here, but with just a range of 3. And those woods block line of sight. So the Germans are being careful not to move in here. So yes, they are slowly pushing forward. They are slowly making ground. But let me also point out that they are suffering in the process. These are some of their casualties from just the past few hours. They lost a Stug mortar half track, another Stug, no, it's not a Stug, sorry, something else, some more infantry. So they are losing. In addition, the units that remain on the board are also suffering some step losses. If I can find them in here, I know it's happening. Yeah, they have a step loss. Stug with a step loss. Some more step losses there on the infantry. Suppressed units over here, which will recover in just a moment. So they're making ground, but they're really running out of units. This is, I think they're Panthers again. They were very close to being eliminated. They were up to 2 cohesion hits, and at one stage were, I think, suppressed and were surrounded by these 6 airborne AT guns. And they managed to place barrage markers and then withdraw and recover those cohesion hits and suppression. So they came very close to being kind of trapped and caught out in the open and eliminated. What's happening now is, a focus of the German efforts on this area. They're trying to clear out these 2 AT guns. And then I think they'll stay away from this area and they'll really drive on Horsa. They are only effectively 2.5, 3 kilometers away, and I know there's a lot of entrenched markers here, but these are also relatively weak defenders. A rearguard unit with 0 steps, another rearguard unit with 0 steps, glider company, para company, independence. That's a strong hex there. I think the question will be, can the Germans maintain their health whilst pushing, or will they effectively run out of steps to do the job properly? So as I said, we're heading to the night turn on the 8th of June, and then we'll start the 9th of June, where we see on the following day, the 9th of June, some more Allied armoured reinforcements arriving. So it is now the end of the 1100 turn on the 9th of June. Another 4 turns have passed, the night, 7 a.m, 9 a.m, 11 a.m, and here we are. And, well, a few mixed results. Yes, the Germans eliminated one of those 6th Airborne AT guns from this hex here, which is great. Unfortunately, they've lost all the 21st Panzer Division infantry. They've lost a few more companies from 346 711. They are suppressed. They're down to 8, maybe 9, no, 8 units in 21st Panzer Division. A lot of these are reduced or suppressed. And time is running out. It just takes so long to get anything done. To put this in perspective, they basically get one, if they put their formation activation in the cup, they get one free fire attack per turn. They can spend command points, as they've been doing, to fire with their most effective units. So command point on that Stug, command point on that Panzer IV, sometimes a few others spread about, but that spends their command points. Right now, they're on 3 command points, 3 dispatch points. They can't maintain sort of consistent fire attacks on these positions, which is basically what you need to wear them down and get those cohesion hits down. They are very rarely suppressed. Again, if there's a possible suppression, they just spend a command point to get rid of it. So it's a grind. As I've said before, it's a grind, and it's taking a long time, and I don't think they're making enough progress. Now, way at the top here, let me take you around. So 346 711 briefly broke through here. They decided again that time was running out, and they needed to make a bold move, basically. So they moved the infantry out to the open. This is where they lost that infantry earlier. They decided to get over that, and they attacked into the I think it's a village hex here with only a -1 modifier for the defenders, and they eliminated a glider company and then pushed through quite quickly. That brought hell down upon this hex, and basically every 6th Airborne landing unit in this area counterattacked, drove them back, and I guess the effect of this has been that the 6th Airborne is now sending some reinforcements. So you can see they've asked some of these commandos to come and help out just in case. And there's also some more units of the 6th Airborne Landing Brigade that were around Horsebridge that are now shifting up along the road, just off to the right of this image. So I guess the small success of the 346 711 has scared the Allied player in this area, and they're kind of calling on some more reinforcements to push back 346 711. Again, there are more 346 711 reinforcements coming on in a few turns time. So there are still 2 AT guns. There's one full strength gun here, and there is I think it's only just been reduced to 1 step, I think. There it is. Hard hitting. Still enough of a threat though, and even once those guns are out of the way, I mean, Commando mortars back here. There's another mortar company somewhere under here reduced. And then they've still got to get through the entrench. So I'm a bit pessimistic about the chances of the 21st Panzer Division doing anything in this area. But I guess we'll play it out and see how it goes. Okay, another 3 turns down. It's the end of the 1700 turn on the 9th of June. And the Germans have once again subtly shifted the focus of their attack. Instead of now driving through this no longer open ground, they're just shifting a bit to the west. There's an AT gun in this stack here, which is difficult to get to. This wooded area here this blocking terrain. So the Germans really had to get up close to be able to see it, to place barrage markers on it, and to attack it. And it's very dangerous moving through this area. Good placement of guns here. So they've shifted back to the left. They have focused their efforts right here and eliminated another AT gun. And this now clears out most of the 6th Airborne range units in this area. There is a reduced step mortar unit right there, causing a little bit of trouble. And then, of course, there's the one off-map artillery unit, which is helping to blind. And then, of course, the commando mortar units are being quite helpful sometimes when they're in range. They are there, and there's one under this stack here too, I think. It's interesting how you get to know where all the units are. Just there. So the Germans can focus a little bit more freely here. They are still being hit by those slightly ranged units. You can see a suppression marker under here. And what else? We have a cohesion hit was caused here. This is quite a densely stacked hex. But again, they're no longer too concerned about Allied counter fire. So the Germans are kind of operating a bit more freely. Command is still an issue, but probably the bigger issue is they have, by this stage, lost quite a lot of their units. So yes, they've taken out the AT guns in this area, but they're now heavily reduced. They still, of course, have a full strength Stug there, a reduced Stug somewhere else. There it is. And their Panzer IVs are over here in that hex. And they could even, I think they can move into that trench there to kind of increase their armor rating, troop quality, and firepower, and then blast away at this area, because this is clear, non-blocking terrain. Way up in the north, the northeast, again, it's a bit of a back and forth stalemate, neither side being able to push. The 3, 4, 6, 7, 11 now have 5 mortar companies on the board. They do have 2 dual-purpose guns, AT guns, I think, plus their 3 units of off-map artillery. They are doing some damage. They cause a step loss here. 2 cohesion hits are built up, but it's just such slow progress. The commandos have been sent out to help reinforce the area. And I did prepare the 6th Airborne landing here. You can see these guys here are out of their trenches and are preparing to move along that road rapidly if needed, if the Germans do break up through up there. But it's just such slow going, this bottleneck. Let me take a bit closer. Yeah, here it is. You can see a few cohesion hit suppressed units. It's a German unit on that suppressed marker. Yeah, they just have not been able to break through. They are perhaps slowly grinding away. They do, I will say, they do have quite a few companies coming on as reinforcements over the next turn. But the problem is there's a backlog of these units. They just can't get through. As soon as if they densely stack these hexes, they become even more vulnerable. These guys are in open terrain and are subject to a lot of surrounding fire from the mortar. It's an AT gun. It's not quite an AT gun. It's a no, sorry, it is with armor-piercing rounds. So it's tough to push through here. So yeah, the fighting continues. We're pushing towards the end of the 9th of June. So we have 2 more daylight turns and then the night turn, with a lot of these more reinforcements coming on for the Germans, including some more off-map artillery. But of course, these 2 special Allied armored units will arrive very shortly. And that, as I said, I think they have the potential to do a lot of damage to the 21st Panzer Division.